Three, two, one. Welcome to another episode of the Brewery Word Podcast. How's everyone doing today? This is Alex. You can call me Brewery. I am your main host. I hope that everyone is doing well. I also hope that this episode helps you get through this day. If you are a new listener to this podcast, you can follow this podcast on the following platforms. It is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. You can simply find this podcast on other listening platforms. If you don't have one of the listening platforms, download it on your devices. Please download it now. You are going to miss out on some episodes. You can follow this podcast on Instagram. Just press the follow button. You can subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. I have a disclaimer for this episode. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a psychologist, I am not a therapist in any way, shape, or form. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not someone who simply gives people professional advice. I'm not licensed. I'm not giving anyone legal advice or medical advice. I'm not diagnosing anyone. I'm simply forming my opinion. That is all I have for this episode. Here goes your YouTuber, Ami and a hellcat arrested for fraud. I'm sure that the feds have been watching him, and it's for a good reason. They have been watching him for a long time. There's no doubt that they watched his YouTube videos and they watched his daily moves outside of his job. It's the feds' job to watch people. When I first heard that the feds raided his house, seizing his banking accounts, seizing his properties, assets, and his luxury cars, I needed to see how everything played out. This is not the first time it was reported because the feds have been watching him for a long time. I'm going to do the reading from the article about this YouTuber because I don't want to make a mistake and say the wrong things. So I'm starting the reading from this article. A famous New Jersey YouTuber was arrested by the FBI and charged in one of the largest illegal TV pirating rings ever, known to his over 800,000 YouTube followers as Ami and a Hellcat for his high-end luxury vehicles collection. Bel Omar Carrasquillo, 34 years old, is charged with conspiracy to commit copyright infringement, tax evasion, and fraud for his illegal online streaming service websites. That includes money laundering. Partners Jess Gonzalez, 42 years old, of Pico Rivera, California, and Michael Barone, 36 years old, of Richmond Hill, New York, have also been charged. According to the 69-page, 62-count indictment, the partners ran an illegal streaming service from 2016 to 2019 at various times called Reboot Gears TV, Reloaded, and Gears Reloaded that offers subscribers all-inclusive access to content from the likes of Comcast, Verizon Fios, DirecTV, HBO, and others for as low as $15 a month. Prosecutors allege they collected over $30 million in subscription fees, which they tried to hide by distributing to various apps and bank accounts. Carrasquillo, who live streamed his arrest Tuesday, claims that he paid subscription fees for all of the subscriptions and content services that he later broadcast out to his thousands of subscribers. In November 2019, Carrasquillo's home was raided by federal agents who seized $35 million in assets and 57 luxury cars, including Lamborghinis, Bentleys, and Rolls Royces. So that's the article there. What he did wrong was that he was revealing his personal business. His personal life was out there, the end period, when he was showing his house, when he was uploading excessive videos about the feds raiding his home, when he was wearing the same chain. I feel that if he did this and he was not well known, then no one would excuse his behavior. People would form solid opinions and never say anything positive about him. I feel that people are excusing his behavior because he's well known on YouTube and a number of people are not taking this seriously. People should take this seriously because when you do Fed time, then it's hard to live without a lot of privileges. A lot of your privileges are taken away from you. When there are people who work hard and do not live the lifestyle that fraudulent gurus are living in, then your life is going to be in the right direction long term. You will live your best life. No one is looking at the big picture. You do not want to mess with the feds. That's the last thing you want to do. Stupidity can change people. Unfortunately, people don't learn from stupidity. That's the sad part. That is what I learned in 2021. He should have made his life private and he should have done better and did the right thing so that he would not be caught. When he said that he's not stealing from anyone, I was not buying this at all. From a legal perspective, copyright infringement is a federal law. It's against the law. The idea that he was stealing shows and putting them into his own streaming business is very illegal. I don't respect a thief. It's very clear that he is a low-life thief. If he does not have enough money because he spent a lot of money, then he's going to have trouble paying for these legal fees. At the end of the day, what he did was theft. He thought that he was setting a perfect example for people to live a particular lifestyle. Unfortunately, he snitched on himself, and that's going to be his biggest downfall. So he has no one to blame but himself. This entire situation is a mess. I feel that you can't trust someone who has more than 10 vehicles in their front yard, especially luxury cars. Luxury cars are very expensive, especially in the current year or the upcoming years. I'm talking about newer models. If he was working with a professional that is very reputable, then he would not be in legal trouble. If he was smart, then he would not be in legal trouble. The IRS and the feds work together, so they're not playing. I'm sure that the IRS will have to know where you made your income from. Like, you have to be very honest about your income so that you don't end up in trouble, so you don't end up penalized. That's what you don't want happen to you. I am fully for people getting sentenced to prison for many years for fraud. I lose respect for people who do something fraudulent, especially when it has something to do with money. I don't know why people have not learned from this. If people learned from this, then no one would get themselves into some legal trouble. When people flex on social media, it's not what it's cracked up to be. I don't feel bad for him because he was too bold enough to flash his wealth, to flash what he had. He should have focused on his freedom and made sure that he was doing the right thing. He should stop vlogging since the feds arrested him. I don't know why he keeps vlogging about the feds coming for him. Like, you already got caught, and they have a good reason to come to your house. If he did the right thing and did not falsify his information on his taxes, then he will not be arrested for tax evasion. Falsifying your information is the last thing that you should do. That is my opinion for this entire situation. Ignorance is bliss. People have to be educated, and it's important to educate yourself so you don't deal with a lot of headaches and stress in the future. You don't deal with less troubles in the future. I enjoyed recording this episode for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot that you listened, especially the new listeners. If you have suggestions on what I can record for the upcoming episodes, regardless of real life culture, internet culture, pop culture, or social media culture, you can send an email, buryweirdpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to be updated by this podcast, please follow this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. That includes other listening platforms as well. I will be speaking in the next episode. Bye.